Turning now to New York, opening statements have officially begun in the trial against Sean Diddy Combs. The charges, including trafficking and racketeering, carry a possible life sentence behind bars.
With the first day of testimony in Sean Diddy Combs' federal crimes trial. After seating a jury of 8 men and 4 women, the prosecution delivered its opening statement, and they came out swinging.
Well, Andrew, trial is expected to wrap up in the next half hour or so. We had opening statements this morning, and then they got right to the witnesses. When we got back this afternoon, they seated this jury, which looks to be 8 men, 4 women. About 3/4 of them are people of color, just to give you an idea of the breakdown. The first witness to testify was Officer Israel Flores. He was the security officer back in 2016.
Prosecutor Emily Johnson said the public knew Diddy as a larger-than-life business mogul, but behind the scenes, he was forcing women into using violence and drugs to keep them in line. She said Combs had an inner circle that helped him commit sex crimes, other crimes, things like arson and kidnapping. And then came the graphic details from what we now know are called the freak-offs.
We saw that now infamous recording of Sean Combs allegedly beating Cassie Ventura in that hotel hallway. We heard from him. We watched the video in its entirety from multiple angles in order to see exactly what unfolded.
Where Diddy allegedly recorded sex encounters that he'd arranged between paid escorts and his alleged victims, including his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Now, the feds say Diddy once forced an escort to urinate on Cassie. That came out in court today. When it was the defense's turn, they didn't deny Diddy's temper. They said, yes, he can be violent. They admitted that. Remember, that's not what he's on trial for. They said, yes, he's got anger issues, and his actions might warrant domestic violence charges. It was clever that they said that.
And as we watch this video, I want to say, by the way, everything we're about to talk about during this live shot could be perceived as disturbing materials. Just want to give our viewers a little bit of a warning here.
But trafficking and racketeering, again, that's what the federal case is about. The defense says those don't apply. And all that freak-off, according to the defense, they say it was consensual. They said that Diddy's love of baby oil, and this was actually a quote, they said the love of baby oil was not a federal crime.
What do you get when a music mogul's luxury lifestyle collides with surveillance footage, a stripper's testimony, and a security guard claiming hush money? You get the first day of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trafficking trial, and it was pure chaos. The moment courtroom doors opened on May 12th, the air changed. No cameras were allowed, but what unfolded inside that Manhattan courthouse echoed louder than any livestream ever could. The jury wasn't eased into this case, they were thrown headfirst into it. By noon, they had already watched Diddy on a hotel security video kicking and dragging his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, across the hallway floor. By mid-afternoon, a male stripper was calmly testifying that he was paid thousands to sleep with her, while Diddy watched in disguise, wearing a robe, a bandana over his face, and allegedly filming everything. And that was just day one. Prosecutors say this wasn't about partying or passion.
There's a little bit of a warning here. Watching Sean Combs kick and drag and grab Cassie Ventura by her neck and by her hair over and over again. And then at one point, Cassie walks over to a phone that's in this lobby, lobby area of their 6th floor hotel room.
It was about power. They claim Diddy built a private empire of freak-offs, codenamed escorts, paid silence, and blackmail. Baby oil wasn't just a bedroom detail. It was reportedly part of a whole setup: lit rooms, drugs, lingerie, NDAs, and staff under strict orders. Meanwhile, the defense admits he's no saint, but insists this was consensual, adult chaos, not federal crime. One side calls it trafficking, the other, a toxic love story. But when witnesses start talking about aliases, burner phones, hotel codes, and stacks of hush cash, suddenly, things don't sound like regular relationship drama. And with more witnesses, brutal text messages, and possibly even celebrity names coming up next, this might be the case that shatters not just one career, but the image of an entire industry. So, if you missed day one, buckle in. We're breaking down every wild moment the headlines didn't capture, and by the end, you'll be asking yourself, Was this just twisted intimacy or the blueprint of a criminal empire? If there was any moment that jolted the courtroom out of silence, it was this. Jurors sat motionless as prosecutors queued up what they called the most chilling evidence of all.
And she calls for this instant services, and a security guard comes up, and at that point he's able to separate them, and he walks them down the hallway towards the hotel room where they were. Cassie apparently telling the security officer that she just wants to leave, and Sean Combs reportedly telling her that she's not going to leave.
A hotel surveillance video from March 5th, 2016. No audio. Just a grainy hallway shot from the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. And there he was, Sean Diddy Combs, barefoot, wrapped in a towel, and moving toward his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura with violent intent. In the footage, he allegedly grabs her, throws her down, kicks her, then drags her and her belongings into the hallway. She tries to shield herself. The camera glitches. Then Diddy walks away, only to return moments later. It's raw. It's brutal. And it backs up every claim Cassie made in her civil suit, claims that people once brushed off as exaggerated. But the video didn't play alone. It came with a voice, Israel Flores, a former security guard at the hotel who responded to the incident that night. His testimony painted a scene even darker than the tape. Flores said when he arrived on the 6th floor, the hallway was wrecked, a flower vase smashed, Cassie curled into a corner, Diddy standing still, staring. Flores described his expression as blank at first, then corrected himself and called it devilish. But the detail that made reporters grip their notepads?
When they opened the door to that hotel room, there was another man, according to this officer, sitting in the hotel room. Now, that is something that the defense disputes since it wasn't in the actual incident report.
Flores testified that after trying to de-escalate the situation and lead them back to their room, Diddy allegedly pulled out a wad of $100 bills and told him, "Don't tell nobody." Flores claims he didn't take the money, but that moment set the tone for everything that followed. Because what prosecutors are suggesting is that this wasn't an isolated moment of violence. This was a pattern, one that included bribes, surveillance, and total control. The hotel incident became the first real-world confirmation of Cassie's claims. Not just words on a lawsuit, but a full visual that prosecutors say shows exactly who Diddy is when the public isn't watching. And remember, this was just one night, one video, one witness. Just when the courtroom thought it had seen the worst, Daniel Phillip took the stand and flipped the script from violence to something even more disturbing: control wrapped in fantasy. Phillip wasn't a cop or a former employee. He was a male dancer, muscular, composed, and surprisingly calm as he testified about what he claims went on behind closed doors. According to him, he was contacted in 2012 for what he thought would be a harmless striptease at the Gramercy Park Hotel. What he walked into was a carefully staged encounter, and a man hiding in plain sight. And this wasn't a one-time thing. Phillip testified he participated in multiple sessions over the next year. He says he was told to arrive at hotels using code names like Black, check in with staff who knew the drill, and perform specific acts with Cassie, all while Diddy stayed in disguise. But the moment that sent chills through the courtroom, Phillip says Diddy once demanded his driver's license, took a photo of it, and offered no explanation. Phillip said he feared for his life after that. "He knew who I was, where I lived, what I looked like," he told the court. The term freak-off might sound like tabloid talk, but what Phillip described felt more like ritual than recreation. Candles, lube, specific clothing rules, escorts with white nails, no eye contact with the king. It was graphic, it was surreal, and it was so intense that, according to reports, Diddy's daughters got up and walked out of the courtroom mid-testimony. By the time Diddy's defense team stepped up, the courtroom had already heard about hotel violence and a secretive empire fueled by cash, control, and silence. The air was thick. The tension was real. So what could they possibly say to counter all that? Their approach?
The next witness that we are still hearing from right now is Daniel Phillip. That is the male escort that had multiple interactions with Cassie and Diddy over the course of years. Essentially, he said he was initially called over to meet them at a hotel because he was told he was there for a bachelorette party, and then when he got there, it was just Cassie and Sean Combs.
Admit the mess, deny the crimes. Lead attorney Tini Garagos didn't sugarcoat Diddy's flaws. In fact, she put them front and center. She told the jury that, yes, Diddy has a temper, Yes, he drinks. Yes, he's had toxic relationships and made terrible personal decisions. But being an emotionally reckless partner, she argued, isn't the same thing as being a federal criminal. The defense's key message? Don't confuse dysfunction with a conspiracy. Geragos called Diddy a complicated man, but insisted the women in his life, especially Cassie, were not victims of trafficking. They were consenting adults in twisted, codependent relationships. And according to her, that's what this case is really about. Bad breakups turned into court battles. To support that argument, the defense dropped a few strategic bombshells of their own. They claimed that Cassie never went to the police, never filed a criminal report, and instead worked with a high-profile civil lawyer to demand a $30 million payout. To them, that's motive. Not justice, but money. And what about the freak-offs? Geragos didn't deny they happened, but she called them adult encounters, not crimes. She even addressed the stripper's testimony, admitting it was shocking, but suggesting that Cassie orchestrated those moments just as much as Diddy. The defense described her as a grown woman making grown decisions. Uncomfortable, maybe, but not illegal. They also tried to neutralize the bribe claim, saying there's no hard proof Diddy ever offered money to silence anyone. No signed statement, no audio, just a story, conveniently told years later. But here's the catch. Their strategy hinges on reasonable doubt, not public sympathy. They're not trying to make Diddy look like a saint. They're trying to convince the jury that he may be guilty of being a terrible boyfriend, but not the mastermind of a criminal enterprise. It's a bold play, and a risky one. Because with more women scheduled to testify and Cassie's explosive statements still looming, the defense is betting everything on the idea that consent blurs everything. The defense called it messy love. The prosecution called it something else entirely, a criminal empire disguised as a lifestyle. According to federal prosecutors, Sean Diddy Combs didn't just host wild parties. He engineered them, controlled them, built an underground machine of manipulation powered by fear, money, and influence. And at the center of it all, the now infamous freak-offs. These weren't just spontaneous nights of indulgence, the government argued. They were carefully crafted events, complete with staging instructions, lighting, music, drugs, candles, cash, lingerie requirements, escorts with white manicures and tall heels. Nothing was random. Everything was part of a ritual. Prosecutors said Diddy used a private network of assistants and security staff to set up these encounters with military precision. Rooms had to be prepared in advance. Women were told how to look, how to act, and what to do. And in some cases, they were reportedly filmed without consent. But the most chilling part? According to the government, these parties weren't just about pleasure. They were about power and silence. Witnesses described burner phones, encrypted messages, and hotel aliases like Black or Baby. Escorts were brought in under fake names, NDAs were signed, and there were hints of something even darker: blackmail. Prosecutors claim hidden cameras may have been used to keep people quiet. Once you were in, there was no backing out without consequences. They pointed to Diddy's reputation for secrecy, his alleged need for control, and the staff members who were reportedly too scared to speak up. It was, in their words, a pattern of exploitation masked as consensual chaos. The court also heard that Diddy allegedly tracked the women in his life, used private investigators, sent staff to retrieve people who tried to leave. One prosecutor said, "This wasn't a relationship. It was a system." Because if the jury sees all these encounters as organized, premeditated, and exploitative, they may see Diddy not as a flawed man, but as a ringleader. It's a narrative that turns every freak-off into evidence, every hotel check-in into a breadcrumb, every silence into a strategy. Inside the courtroom, Diddy is facing 5 federal charges. But outside, he's facing something just as devastating: the slow, public collapse of everything he built. At his peak, Sean Combs wasn't just a rapper or a producer, he was a mogul. The man behind Bad Boy Records, the face of Kurok, the fashion visionary who launched Sean John. He wasn't just in the industry, he was the industry. But as day one of the trial unfolded, it became clear that those empires are shaking, and fast. Multiple brands have already started distancing themselves. Endorsement deals have either been quietly paused or terminated altogether. Executives at some of his liquor and fashion ventures have reportedly stopped returning calls. Sources close to his team told outlets that potential investors have ghosted him overnight. Even streaming numbers, which briefly spiked after the FBI raid, have now plateaued. People are watching? Yes, but they're watching like it's a car crash, not a comeback, and it's not just business. The culture is shifting too. Longtime collaborators have gone silent. Big-name artists who once praised Diddy aren't saying a word.
Cassie Ventura did not take the stand today. She is expected to be there tomorrow, and she'd better soon. This is another very interesting part of all of this. She is about to give birth to her third child any minute now, and she's about to get on the witness stand, about to have a baby. Another twist.
And on social media, fans are torn. Some defend him, calling the accusations a targeted takedown. Others say the signs were always there, and that it's finally time to hold the untouchables accountable. What's more alarming is what could come next. Prosecutors hinted that at least 50 more people may come forward, either to testify or file lawsuits. And that doesn't even include potential financial fallout from civil damages, frozen assets, or brand blacklisting. And then there's the personal toll. Diddy's family was present during day one, but even they struggled. His daughters reportedly left the courtroom during graphic testimony. His son sat stone-faced, and insiders say the mood inside his inner circle is pure panic. Because this isn't just one trial, it's a chain reaction. If he's convicted, the fallout could extend far beyond Diddy, dragging in collaborators, companies, and others who turned a blind eye. And with more witnesses on the horizon, including Cassie herself, the pressure is only mounting. She was once his muse. Now she might be the witness who brings it all crashing down. Cassie Ventura isn't just a name on the charge sheet, she's the foundation of this entire case. Her civil lawsuit, filed in late 2023, was the spark that ignited a wildfire. And now, after years of silence, Cassie is preparing to take the stand and speak directly to the jury. Her testimony could be the tipping point. According to prosecutors, Cassie will outline a chilling timeline of her relationship with Diddy, one that started with music and romance, but quickly spiraled into manipulation, control, and abuse.
2 witnesses were called today, including a former security officer at the hotel, where Diddy is seen on video attacking Ventura brutally. You remember that video back in 2016. The prosecutors played the video. The witness testified that Diddy tried to pay him off with a giant wad of cash.
One of the most anticipated parts, the hotel incident. We've already seen the footage. We've already heard from the guard. But now, jurors will hear from Cassie herself. What happened before that night, during it, and what followed afterward. Prosecutors are betting that this moment will cement her credibility and tie together the entire narrative of power, fear, and coercion. And then there's the matter of the freak-offs. Cassie is expected to testify about being pressured into organizing and participating in these encounters. Her story will likely mirror Daniel Phillips, but with deeper emotional scars. According to reports, she will also describe moments of psychological manipulation, threats, and humiliation. And prosecutors say she'll explain why she stayed silent for so long. Fear. Fear of retaliation. Fear of being blacklisted. Fear of being destroyed by one of the most powerful men in entertainment. The defense will fight back, hard. They've already painted her as a willing participant, even suggesting she financially benefited from the relationship. They're likely to zero in on the $30 million civil settlement ask, implying her motive was money, not justice. But here's what matters most: how the jury reacts to her. Because if Cassie comes across as authentic, if her story lines up with the evidence we've already seen, and if the jury believes her, it could be game over for the defense. Her testimony isn't just another chapter. It could be the turning point in this entire case. So, let's step back and look at the big picture. Day one of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial wasn't just shocking. It was historic. A courtroom full of tension, a jury stunned by footage, and witness after witness peeling back the polished image of a hip-hop legend to reveal something much darker underneath. We saw a hotel tape that confirmed years of whispered rumors, a security guard claiming he was offered hush money.
The day's second witness was a male escort. This is where it really got very juicy, who says that he was paid by Diddy numerous times to have sex with Cassie while Diddy sat there in the corner and watched. He says he once saw Diddy throw a liquor bottle at Cassie and heard him beating her in another room.
A stripper testifying about secret names, disguises, and rituals that sounded more like cult behavior than casual kink. Baby oil, candlelight, code names, all backed by cold, calculated precision. And let's not forget the ripple effects. The prosecution laid out what they believe is a full-blown criminal enterprise, a pattern of power and control that went unchecked for decades. Meanwhile, the defense countered with a high-stakes gamble, admit Diddy's messiness but deny it was illegal. Call it toxic love, not trafficking, jealousy, not RICO. But the courtroom isn't the only place where this story is playing out. Outside those walls, Diddy's empire is crumbling. Brands are distancing, collaborators are going silent. Even longtime fans are divided, some calling it a takedown, others saying it's justice long overdue. His image isn't just dented, it's in free fall. And then there's Cassie. Her voice is coming next. The woman who sparked this all will now speak directly to the jury. If her words carry the same weight as the evidence we've already seen, the surveillance footage, the text messages, the eyewitness testimony, this trial could shift from scandal to conviction. But here's the real question. Is this about one man or an industry that's looked away for far too long? Because what's being exposed isn't just Diddy's private life, it's how fame, money, and fear have shielded the powerful for years. Whether he's convicted or not, this trial is a mirror, and the reflection it's showing us, it's uncomfortable, it's ugly, but it might be exactly what the entertainment world needs to face. So, what do you think? Was this all consensual chaos or a controlled system hiding in plain sight? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget, we'll be breaking down every key update, every twist, and every name that drops as this trial unfolds. So, hit that like. Tap subscribe and buckle in, because this story, it's just getting started.